Okay, good morning, everyone. We are starting Perek Chamishi, the fifth chapter, the first section, and Bechelke Habria Umatzavea. So we're going to talk about creation and all of its different situations. So he says like this, okay? He says, Aleph, Chelke Klal Habria Him Gashmim V'Ruchanim. When we think of creation, we could encapsulate all of creation in both physical creatures or creations and spiritual creations. It's worth noting that if we're going to talk about things which are created, even though we're going to describe things which are spiritual, things which are ruach, things which are not tangible, as we'll see in a moment, God is not included in that, right? God is beyond even being a spiritual being. He is even beyond that. Whatever that means, we can't really wrap our head around. But if we're going to talk about angels, we're going to talk about something else which is similar to angels, those are all created beings, and obviously God is even beyond that. God is not even considered, as we'll see, God is not even considered a spiritual being. He is something which transcends even that. Okay, so let's go a little further. Hagashmim, when we think about the physical realm, him hamurgashim michushenu. Those are things which could be sensed with our senses. Umischalkim lelyonim v'tachtonim. There are things which are above and things which are below. Halyonim, what's included in the things above? Him klal hagramim hashmeimim. Those are, when we think about the things which are above, those are the celestial beings. Dahainu hagalgalim v'chochveim, like all the planets and the stars. Hatachtonim, him klal mashbechal hagalgal hatachton. And we think of the physical creations. Those are the things which are the lower ones. Those are the things which are found in literally the lower sphere. He's using terminology that they used back in the day. But the point is, he's talking about Tahainu ha'aretz, ha'mayim, ha'avir. We're talking about land, water, air, v'chol ma'shebehem min ha'gufim ha'murgashim, and anything in them which are physical beings that we could sense. Okay, so basically there's the physical beings, and that includes everything that we see here on planet Earth, and everything above. There's the sun, the stars, the moon, all the other planets. Those are all called physical beings. Okay, and he's going to describe the role of all these different things soon, but first he's just describing that there's this continuum. There is totally spiritual, there's totally physical. Over here in the physical realm, we have all the physical things that we could touch and feel or see and sense. That's the physical things. V'ruchanim, when we talk about spiritual beings, him nivraim mishulalim migashem. These are things which are created, but they don't have any physical characteristics. Bilti murgashim mechushenu. Most fundamentally, they are things which we do not sense. You can't sense them if we're spiritual, but then by definition, we cannot sense them. Umischalkim l'shnei minim. And there are two categories. Ha'echad neshamos. One is souls, okay? One is something which is a soul, okay? Vasheni nivdalim. And the second is something which is not a soul, it's something which is completely separate from physical reality. The term that we use is something which is called a nivdal, which literally means separate, but the point is there's something which is a soul, which we know what a soul is, and then a nivdal is something which is simply separate from physical reality. And I'll describe different categories of nivdalim in a moment. Hanishamas, when we talk about souls, hemin nivraim ruchaniim, they are a spiritual creation. Hisatadu lavo besocha guf, which is created with the intention of ultimately connecting to the body. Ligavel besocho, to be limited within it. V'likasher bo bekesher amitz, to be connected with a strong connection. V'lifal bo pulos shonos, and to have different actions, it has different functions. Bizmanim shonim at different times. Okay. Hanivdalim, when we talk about these nivdalim, hemin nivraim ruchanim, they are spiritual creations. Bilti mutadim legufos klal. There's no goal. They're not supposed to eventually attach to the body. V'nechlakim l'shnei chalakim. And there are two categories of nivdalim. Ha'echad nikraim kochos. Okay, the first is called a koach. Now, this is a term that we don't normally think about. When we think of nivdalim, the second category, vashini malachim, we know of malachim. Angels are the typical one we think of. But there's also something else which he calls a koach, which has a different function, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay, he says, V'gam heim, and they too, these angels and these kochos, mima'alos, rabos, v'shonos, have many different levels. V'lehem chukim tivim b'mitziusam, and they also have different, a different nature. They also have different limitations, right? Just like us physical beings, we have certain limitations. We can't fly, right? Like we have certain things that we can and cannot do. So too with the angels, they also have certain rules. They also have certain limitations. And so too these kochos, they also have certain limitations. Kifim alosei madurgasem, according to their level. Emes nuchal lekrosa minim rabim shel sug echad. So the truth is, there are within one species, there are many different types of levels, okay, or many different species really within a general class. Shua sug hamalachi, within this category of angels. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between an angel and a koach very briefly. Angel, what does an angel do? So, probably one of the more famous Midrashim speaks about like every blade of grass. There's an angel that's hitting it, that's telling it to grow. And so what you see from that type of teaching is that the angel's goal is really a focus on hashgacha. When the development of things, when we talk about things happening in the world, that is the function of the angels. The angels are there to bring about a certain result. The angels are there to bring about a certain result. Kochos, the way the Ramchal explains it elsewhere, not in Derech Hashem, is really the source of every physical thing. In other words, every physical thing begins with a certain root in heaven. Okay, so you have a physical table over here. You have a floor. You have a bima, right? There, everything is rooted up in heaven, and the root of everything is a koach. There is a certain force, a certain spiritual kernel, which causes everything to play a role, everything to come about, and therefore that is the koach. Whereas if we were to talk about, something happening in the world, that would be coming about through the angel. So the koach is the spiritual roots, the spiritual kernel of every physical thing, okay, of everything in this world, not the historic thing, not the development of it, not the changes. That's just the spiritual core of this thing. When we talk about something static, it begins with this koach, and then the movement, the changes, the reality, that is in the realm of malachim, and we'll see how that plays a role in our different discussions. Okay, we'll stop over here.